So let's do NYAD, which is a film that came out a couple of months ago on Netflix, but has been doing the rounds awards-wise because Annette Bening and Jodie Foster have both been getting nominations, and Annette Bening has been nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars this year. And I thought, right, time to fill in some blanks.
Yeah.
Let's go and watch NYAD. And I really enjoyed NYAD. I think it's a really solid sports biopic, if you will. It's pretty straightforward, but it is elevated by a few things.
NYAD, Greek?
So, very good question, James. And I'm glad you interrupted me because I was about to go into my review without telling anyone what the story was. So, NYAD is Diana NYAD, a real-life person. This is all based on a true story. Diana NYAD is a swimmer who made a name for herself when she was in her 20s in the 1980s by swimming extreme lengths and for extreme durations.
Trailer, yeah.
She swam around Manhattan Island for it took her like 8 hours. She did 24-hour swims. She did extreme lengths, and it culminated when she was 28 in a swim that she wanted to do from Cuba to Florida. And she was obsessed with this idea of Cuba, and it would take 48 hours to do. A 48 hours continuous swim over an incredibly difficult, treacherous stretch of water with violent currents and only like a certain period of time of a year that you could do it. And she said in the 80s when she was going to do it, she was like, this is my last swim and this is what I'm going to do. She attempted that swim and it was not successful. She had to pull out. And then she swam no more. And she then had a very successful 30-year career as a sports correspondent for, I think, NBC, right? We then meet, the film cuts forward to 2010, and we meet Diana NYAD, on her 60th birthday. And she's very, very good friends with Bonnie, played by Jodie Foster. They're incredibly active, social, and as it's her 60th birthday, Diana NYAD is thinking more and more about her role, her life, and accomplishments that she hasn't achieved. And she is kind of haunted by the memory of the fact that she was not able to complete this swim, as well as being haunted by some other traumas in her past as well. Something to do with her swimming coach when she was just a teenager, people's expectations of her, her relationship with her father. And NYAD, absolutely, she's been drilled this myth into her about what her name means. NYAD is this Greek name meaning like water nymph, and she was from a young age obsessed with the sea. And she has this kind of like, you're absolutely right, absolutely agree. She has this kind of mythological, self-mythologizing relationship with her name and with water. So she sees it very much like destiny. And she says after her 60th birthday, she starts swimming again, and she says, I'm going to do the swim. I'm going to do the swim from Cuba to Florida, and I'm not going to do it with a shark cage. Because what they did try before, you swim alongside this kind of netting around you to protect you from sharks and jellyfish. And she was like, I'm not doing that. That's an assisted swim. I'm going to do it without that. And she says to Bonnie, Jodie Foster, I need you to be my coach. I want you to do this. And she gathers together a sort of a ragtag team of people who are doing it for free because not a lot of people wanted to sponsor a 60, 61-year-old woman swimming between Cuba and Florida. Wow. And she embarks on a regime of training to try and do the Cuba to Florida swim without shark protection and without shark cage. It's a really good story. I think it's a really easy, solid watch. And even though some of it might be a little bit nuts and bolts, it's elevated by a couple of things. First of all, Jodie Foster is great, but Annette Bening is fantastic. Great performance, deserved nomination. Diana NYAD as a character is really interesting. This is what also I like. She's very multidimensional because she, on the one hand, is incredibly passionate and headstrong and determined, but she's also difficult, stubborn, illogical, has this kind of vain self-mythologizing thing about her where she thinks it's her destiny, and it's perfectly counterbalanced with Jodie Foster as Bonnie, who brings her back down to earth and says, you're not being realistic, and is this great tonic to who Diana NYAD is. But also Diana NYAD as a character, it was great seeing a character whose strengths are also her flaws. Like two sides of the same coin, and I really, really enjoyed that. I think I also just really enjoyed the friendship between the two of them. It's a great movie about friendship and supporting each other, but like specifically gay women over the age of 60 and a great friendship between them. Yeah. And I was like, this is really the love and support they have for each other. It's almost like a platonic love story. They mentioned that they dated like 100 years ago, but they're deep friends and they're deeply supportive.
It's not what defines their
they're not romantically linked, but their platonic love for each other as friends is really, really impressive. You've got Risa Fans as well in it as a navigator, and you have also the actual experience of swimming is so interesting because she's like, I'm swimming for 48 hours straight. I'm not allowed to touch the boat. I'm not allowed to touch anyone. I am, being fed from the boat. I'm going to hallucinate. I'm going to be swimming for so long. I'm going to have saltwater burns. There's jellyfish in the ocean, and it's really a crazy kind of story.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you have a bit of time, I think it's definitely worth a watch. And a couple of weeks ago, Bevan wrote in and said that she had been through a breakup, and we were recommending films, right?
Yeah.
And I actually think NYAD's a perfect film because it's about someone who is in a rut, who decides to lift themselves out, and a great empowering story about self-determination and when no one believed in her because she was a 62-year-old woman to do this swim. So that's NYAD. That's on Netflix. Good performances all around. Give it a watch.
You're in a real sort of true story of adversity.
Yes, I watched it the same day as Society of the Snow, and I was like, "Yep, here we go." Yep, people didn't believe, and then here we go.
Yeah. Nice.
Yes, that you can. If you've seen NYAD, let us know your thoughts. I'm sorry, James, I took your bit.
No,
do you want to say it? You say it. Go on.
Okay.
Yeah, go on.
If you see NYAD, write in hello at pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
And finally, we're going to end this episode with Band of Brothers.